It's Christmas time, and you know what that means. Really cringy atheist memes connecting Christmas to pagan traditions. Giving of gifts, pagan. Mistletoe, pagan. December 25th, pagan. Virgin birth, pagan. I'm forgetting something. Oh, yes. Christmas tree, pagan. Good times. Last week, I came across this meme on Twitter. Whoo boy, that's a doozy. It's funny though. Many of you know that I grew up in a dispensational, King James only, independent Baptist church. From time to time, there would be a member who would whip out Jeremiah chapter 10 around Christmas to show everyone that Christmas trees are pagan. Here's a picture of me and my dad, probably around 2002, playing guitars by the Christmas tree on Christmas Day. There were many Christmases where my dad would get the tree from the upstairs storage room and say, "All right, it's time to put up the Baal tree." I got the reference and knew he wasn't being serious. I think he was making fun of the anti-Christmas tree people in his own way. To this day, he loves getting out Christmas decorations, including the Christmas tree. Though with no kids in the house, it's a much smaller version. Now, I'm not going to touch the Yule tree, Christmas tree stuff. That's a complicated mess, often diluted by people who wouldn't know the historical method if it bit them in the ass. So check out the video description for some links from some people that I trust on the issue. Instead, what I want to talk about is the claim that the Christian Bible forbids decorating trees from the forest, based on Jeremiah chapter 10. How well does that reading hold up? According to the superscription of the work that bears his name, a superscription no doubt added by later editors, Jeremiah was the son of a priest, and prophesied from the reign of Josiah in the 7th century BCE down to the fall of Jerusalem in the early 6th. As Michael Coogan notes in his introduction to the Hebrew Bible, the book of Jeremiah seems to contain three major themes of material: oracles in the form of poetry, biographical narratives, and Deuteronomistic editing and expansion. Like all prophets, Jeremiah is concerned with moral reforms in the present. For example, in chapter 7, Jeremiah communicates the words of Yahweh. "For if you truly amend your ways and your doings, if you truly act justly with one another, if you do not oppress the alien, the orphan, and the widow, or shed innocent blood in this place, and if you do not go after other gods to your own hurt, then I will dwell with you in this place, in the land that I gave of old to your ancestors, forever and ever." That final item, the worship of gods other than Yahweh, is important. As Robert Alter notes in his introduction to Jeremiah, the prophet's most repeated concern is with Judah's whoring after strange gods, the sexual metaphor is often flaunted, and the devastation of the nation that it will inevitably bring about. It appears time and again, haunting Jeremiah's prophetic mission and foreshadowing the fall of Judah in the early 6th century. When we get to chapter 10, it is idolatry that is on the prophet's mind. The entire oracle, beginning with verse 2 and ending with verse 16, is all about the contrast between the gods of the nations and the God of Israel. It is a hymn of praise to Yahweh, the incomparable, wrote the late Robert Carroll, and a polemical dismissal of the cult of idols practiced by other nations. Since a text without a context is a pretext for a proof text, it's vital that we keep Jeremiah's central concern seen elsewhere in the book in mind as we look at the text in question. In verse 2, Yahweh warns Israel to not learn the way of the nations, connecting it to the customs of the peoples in verse 3. As verse 3 continues, we find a description of the cults of the nations. But what exactly is described? Reading directly from the NRSV, we are told that a tree from the forest is cut down and worked with an axe by the hands of an artisan. People deck it with silver and gold. They fasten it with hammer and nails so that it cannot move. What is being described here, in polemic fashion, is the creation of the false gods of the nations. Here's Robert Alter again. Jeremiah now imagines a kind of representative idolater who cuts down the tree, carves wood from it, and overlays it with silver and gold. This step-by-step description is not offered for naught. The prophet aims to make a point that he makes immediately in verse 5. Their idols are like scarecrows in a cucumber field, and they cannot speak. They have to be carried, for they cannot walk. Do not be afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, nor is it in them to do good. Just as scarecrows stand in the middle of a field, lacking any kind of agency, so too these idols are unable to speak, move, or do good or evil. In the words of Peter Craigies, Paige Kelly, and Joel Drinker Jr. in their commentary on Jeremiah chapters 1 through 25, the gods are no more than the materials out of which they are made. In what follows in verses 6 through 10, a contrast is made between these constructed and created gods and the mighty Yahweh of Israel. The prophet is taken aback at the notion that a human would not fear the King of the nations. Because of their idolatrous ways, verse 8 tells us, they are both stupid and foolish. The instruction given by idols is no better than wood. Carroll writes, because the idols are stupid, their worshippers are stupid. In verses 12 through 16, this argument is essentially reiterated. Yahweh alone is the one who made the cosmos. Those who worship idols are stupid. Consequently, verse 15 says, punishment is coming for these worthless works of delusion. This comes to a head with verse 16. Not like these is the Lord, the portion of Jacob, for he is the one who formed all things, and Israel is the tribe of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Here is Robert Carroll again. By having Yahweh as its property, Israel has nothing to fear from the nations and their stupid, iconic religions. So, let's ask the question, what does any of this have to do with Christmas trees? When I, as an atheist, or my dad as a Christian, puts up a Christmas tree, are we participating in some kind of idol worship forbidden by Jeremiah chapter 10? Do we take the tree, whittle it down till it represents an animal or a human, cover it with silver and gold, and then prop it up so that we can bow down to it? Of course not. In comparing the text of Jeremiah chapter 10 with the practice of putting up a Christmas tree, it helps to keep in mind that things that are different are not the same. Superficial similarities are easily dismissed by paying attention to the text, something that atheist readers of the Bible are quite often allergic to doing. It is a rather poor and selective reading of Jeremiah chapter 10 that leads anyone to truly believe Christmas trees fit the bill here. And while some atheists may applaud such a reading, particularly in the interest of scoring cheap rhetorical points against Christians, it strikes this atheist as, well, just plain lazy. So, my fellow atheists, can we just agree to do better? Damn it!